Good morning. Give you a mic check really quick. 1, 2, everyone have it? Check, check. I'm Jim Seidlecki. I'm a deputy county manager here in Adams County. We had an elections-related incident yesterday. Some of you are aware of it, and that's why we've gathered you here today, so that you can hear from both our clerk and recorder, Josh Sigelbaum, as well as Matt Crane, who is the executive director of the County Clerks Association. So I'll begin by turning things over to Josh. He'll read a statement, and then we'll hear from Matt, and then both gentlemen will be available for questions. Following the Q&A, if you'd like to get some B-roll of elections, Josh will escort you back with Jamie and give you an opportunity in that area. So I'll start with Josh Sigelbaum.
Thank you, Jim, and good morning, and thank you for coming today. Yesterday, as Jim mentioned, our elections office intercepted a ballot with a suspicious powdery substance coming out of it. Per our security policies, we isolated the ballot and contacted the sheriff's office, who began a criminal investigation. Hazmat, paramedics, fire, and other law enforcement agencies arrived and securely tested the substance. Initial tests were negative for narcotics, explosives, and biological agents. There was a concerning unknown chemical, however, and samples have been taken and sent to the state lab for further testing. Initial results are negative for anything toxic, but full confirmation will take up to 5 days, so we'll know more then. The voters' anonymity is protected, and their constitutional right is in place. Should it be determined safe, we will move forward with processing this ballot. If not, we will be marking this ballot as damaged and working with the voter to cast their vote. The only time someone loses their right to vote in Colorado is when they are incarcerated on a felony conviction. As this incident is still under investigation, we will ensure that this voter maintains their right to vote. Most importantly, the public needs to know that everyone is safe. The election is secure, and they can and should feel comfortable voting. Our security processes are firmly in place and worked well to detect and secure this ballot. We take election security and integrity very seriously and plan for every contingency. Whether intentional or not, we will not allow an incident like this to disrupt our election in any way. Voters should continue to turn in their ballots. If signed up for ballot tracks, voters will receive confirmation of receipt and processing of their ballot. We are prepared to handle any kind of incident and will provide unofficial results when the election closes at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, November 8th. All 64 counties have been alerted of this incident at this time. There are no other similar incidences reported. I want to thank law enforcement partners, first responders, our elections team for their quick response yesterday to ensure the safety of our election workers and our office. They are an integral part of our security plan, and I greatly appreciate all they do for us to protect our elections so we can securely move forward. Let us not forget, elections play a vital role in free and fair society and are a cornerstone of American democracy. I recognize the fundamental link between the trust in election infrastructure and the confidence the American public places in basic democratic function. That is why we have security protocols, and we will never allow incidences like this to disrupt our elections in any way. We will remain transparent as well as agile to combat and secure our physical and cyber infrastructure against new and evolving threats. As always, our elections officials are working tirelessly to ensure that every eligible voter can cast a ballot with confidence. That was just as true today as it was yesterday. Before turning over to Matt, we'll answer questions at the end of this, so I'll go ahead and turn over to Matt now. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. Just to follow up very briefly with what Josh said, I think it's very important for people to know that elections here in Colorado are safe and secure. Again, just a foot stomp what Josh said. Election officials are highly professional and competent people. They and their teams work at this year-round to make sure that we have accessible and secure elections. Our security postures and protocols have gotten much more sophisticated and stronger over the years, and I think the way that you saw Josh and his team respond to this should give voters confidence, not just here in Adams County, but across the state, about how our elected officials are prepared for anything, potential threats, actual threats that come about. I think it's also important to highlight how far we've come in terms of information sharing and partnering with our federal and state law enforcement partners to help whenever there's any type of threat or potential threat, the way that they were able to respond quickly, to work with Josh and his team here and to get the wheels moving very quickly on this. was something that, that we're very happy to see and we're thankful for. And again, just goes to show the work that we've all been putting in, not just local election officials, but our state partners, our federal partners, to ensure an accessible and secure election. So with that, thanks again for being here, and I think we're happy to take any additional questions.
Josh, how exactly was this discovered, and can you take us through the details of the sheriff arriving at?
Absolutely. So in Adams County, we're lucky to have a wonderful facility here. On our end is the elections office, on the opposite end is the sheriff's headquarters. So very quick response time regarding law enforcement here. The ballot was received through one of our ballot security teams. They do follow routes to go to our various drop boxes and vote centers to pick up ballots and return them to us here for processing. That in itself is a very secure process done in a bipartisan manner. Logs are kept of all movement and ballots collected, so we have a full accounting of what was in the box and what arrives back to us. The ballot was discovered once the ballot arrived back here in our facility, and at that point in time, we identified it through our processes, secured the ballot, and contacted law enforcement.
Just so I understand, the ballot was deposited where initially?
In one of our drop boxes. Because this is an active criminal investigation, I don't want to get into too many details there.
A couple of logistical questions. Wondering
Yes.
how much of the ballot was actually covered in this, and did it kind of also include the envelope, or was it at the actual ballot itself?
So the ballot envelope is completely sealed. It was never opened. We have marked it in the SCORE database as received because we do have the ballot back in our facility. However, the ballot has not been opened. And once we notified law enforcement, they came over and secured it and did their secure testing.
So how much of, if you had to kind of portion it out, I mean, are we talking about a corner of the ballot had a little bit of something on it, or a lot?
The substance was inside the envelope, and it was a fairly significant amount.
We had heard that there was flour and butter. Is that confirmed?
We've been made aware that some of it is cooking substances. However, there's an unknown chemical as well.
And so for, because I have to ask this, for people that do mess up their ballots, if they're baking next to them,
Right.
What should they do?
They should contact our office. We can get them a replacement ballot. We do offer curbside replacement. They can come on into one of our many vote centers. They can locate those at adamsvotes.com. To find the one that's most convenient for them, and we can issue them a replacement ballot. Should they turn it in with a substance, like in this case, we'll follow this very same protocol, and we'll leave it up to law enforcement to determine whether or not a crime has been committed. But we will ensure that we process their ballot because every American, every U.S. citizen does have the right to vote.
So if someone had put something potentially harmful in a
Right.
ballot,
Right.
the response would be to give that person another ballot?
It's their constitutional right to be able to vote. And as election officials, we're going to protect that right. The only time an American loses their right to vote is when they are actually convicted and incarcerated on a felony. Even here in Colorado, if someone is convicted of a felony, as soon as they are in their post-incarceration term, their voting rights are restored.
How did you determine it was a cooking substance, and was the person who filled out the ballot and deposited it contacted, and what did that person have to say?
Law enforcement determined what the substances were through various testing measures. Like I mentioned in my statement, they tested for narcotics along with other substances as well. And law enforcement, since they're in an active criminal investigation, I'll let them comment on if they've made contact with the individual or not.
So you cannot comment on whether the person was contacted?
I said I will leave it up to law enforcement to comment on that.
Even if all of this ends up being, benign,
Mm-hmm.
what does that say about the state of where our elections are with security and threats, and really just kind of how serious the environment is right now?
We've all known for years that security concerns have been increasing around the country, not just here in Colorado. Like Matt mentioned, we've got some wonderful partnerships with our local, state, federal agencies to ensure that we're safe and secure, not just from a physical standpoint, but from a technical standpoint, IT security as well. So for us, this isn't something that is totally unexpected. That's why we're prepared for it. It is unfortunate that incidences like this take place, and even if this material comes back at, continues to be non-toxic and comes back as something that isn't dangerous, any of those types of materials can interrupt our equipment, damage our equipment, or interrupt the election. There is some state statute around it that does allow us to take action in the event that something criminal does take place. But of course, that's ultimately up to law enforcement if charges are filed.
Curious about that 5-day timeline.
Mhm.
Is that 5 days from yesterday or today? And then how does that person get their ballot back if it comes back clear? Just seeing that 5 days from now is election day.
It was 5 days from yesterday, and I'm told that the CDPHE lab does work every day of the week. So they will be doing they're culturing the sample right now in some Petri dishes to see what grows, essentially. And we'll know those results come Monday. Election day is Tuesday. However, we do have up to 8 days after the election to continue to process ballots. So there is plenty of time to get this figured out. And if need be, we will issue the voter a provisional ballot and accept their ballot in that manner while everything else gets sorted.
I'm not sure if you can say this because I know you all are still
Mhm.
investigating it, but this person, this voter who turned their ballot in, do you know if they have any prior incidents?
I can't comment on that. I don't know.
And again, just logistically speaking,
Mhm.
that ballot was not turned into this facility, but rather a ballot box off the premises, and then you guys had to get it.
Correct. And once it arrived back, we noticed the substance and secured the ballot and started the process of contacting law enforcement.
Have you spoken to the election workers that handled that ballot? I can imagine that, even if it is benign, it's kind of a scary situation.
Yes, we have spoken to those election workers. We've spoken with our full-time staff here, and there are other election workers that will be coming in later today who weren't directly involved that we'll be informing of then. We do take their safety and security very, very seriously. The election workers do always wear gloves as well, so there wouldn't have been any skin-to-skin contact or skin-to-material contact there. And as we go through and we're sorting through the ballots to get them organized and ready for processing, we do inspect to ensure that the ballot envelope itself is in good condition before we can move forward. So we've got plenty of PPE available if the election workers choose to wear it. That's ultimately up to them, but they do always wear gloves.
Can you talk about how you detected there was something inside the ballot without opening it?
The powder was spilling out. And then when you felt it, you could feel something granular inside the ballot envelope.
Is this year different than previous years as far as your level of alertness for possible problems?
We always stay alert. I think that's one of the things that helps protect our elections is that we plan for every possible incident and we are always aware of what's taking place. Our law enforcement partners regularly monitor social media, look for warnings along those lines, and will pass them along to us. We all live and participate in this community as well, so we're very aware of what's taking place in Adams County, and we do our best to stay in front of anything that may happen.
Has this happened before? Is this the first?
This is a first in Adams County. However, just about every election, some elections office somewhere, whether it's in Colorado or somewhere else in the country, receives a ballot returned with some sort of powdery substance in it.
Did you mention a time when this happened?
We received the ballot back yesterday about 9:45 a.m.
Can you tell us which ballot box where this was dropped off at?
I'd prefer to not disclose that information just because it is under criminal investigation right now. Any other questions for me or anything for Matt? He came all this way.
I guess in general, if there was some sort of nefarious intent behind this, what do you say to other bad actors out there who may be thinking about doing something similar?
Simply don't do it. We have processes and procedures in place that will allow us to continue with the election regardless of their behavior and their actions, and it is a punishable crime to interfere with an election. So I'd recommend they not do it. If they do, they'll unfortunately be looking at the other end of the investigation. Do you have any comments on that? Mm-hmm. Do you want to take that one?
So I'm thinking back, I mean, there have been, I remember in Jefferson County years ago, there was something similar. I'm not sure what those substances were. I think, but they were found out to be nothing nefarious, probably something very similar to somebody put their ballot down in the kitchen and something got on there, you know. So, you know, and if I may just go back to your question, you know, this is an interesting time to be in elections administration. And the people now that are doing this, that are driving these narratives both here in Colorado and nationally, you know, they're running this grift for financial and political purposes. That's all it is. And as election administrators, we have to be the adults and the grown-ups in the room and run fair and accessible elections for everybody. And I think we would just say that, you know, if you're putting your political future ahead of the American future, there's nothing patriotic nor honorable about that. You know, Americans have to rely on a free and fair and secure election, right? I mean, that's the foundation of everything that we do. We have to rely on that peaceful transition of power. And the people that are running these lies and this grift are trying to undermine that. And again, it's as election administrators, you know, of different political parties, mind you, we find that completely disgusting and abhorrent. And again, there's nothing patriotic about their actions at all.
And did it kind of disrupt workflow a little bit yesterday? Did it take up a lot of time to try to alleviate the situation?
It definitely took up some staff time, but did not interrupt our ballot processing at all. As law enforcement was able to quickly let us know that it wasn't something that was putting us in imminent danger or immediate danger, we were able to continue processing without a moment's notice. So it went well.
Is it kind of business as usual now? Are you beefing up security after this, or?
It really is business as usual. Our security is already beefed up. And as always, we continue to look at our processes and our procedures to see how we can improve them. You know, whether it's in the processing areas or regarding our security or how we run our vote centers, we're always looking to improve. But in this particular case, our processes that were already in place worked, kept our office safe and secured, and allowed us to continue processing ballots and running the election securely.
All right, if there are no further questions, we'll give you all a minute to break down your microphones. We'll stage right here and then go down that hall for any B-roll needs that you'll need for elections.
Appreciate you.
I'll turn that over to William, by the way. William's right here. William